Hello. Thank you everybody for joining us. We'll go ahead and get started on time. My name is Gloria Inés Ponte, and I work with the Maine Community Foundation. In this session, you'll hear about a program which is one of my favorites. I shouldn't have favorites, but I do. And it's called the Investing in Leaders of Color program. So you'll hear from me a little bit about the background and how we got into this work, and most importantly, you'll also hear from 3 of the leaders. To begin, I would like to recognize that we are located in the homeland of the Wabanaki people, where issues of water and territorial rights and encroachment upon sacred sites are ongoing. We recognize the Maliseet, Micmac, Passamaquoddy, and Penobscot tribal nations as distinct, sovereign, legal, and political entities with their own powers of self-governance and self-determination. We respect and thank the Wabanaki people as the original stewards of this land. I'll also take a moment to ask us all to take a breath together to acknowledge all those working for freedom and justice, and to those who've lost their lives because of inequities. Thank you for that joint breath. So with that, I'm very happy to introduce you to 3 wonderful leaders who have agreed to talk about being a leader in Maine. And after that, I'll give a brief overview of the Investing in Leaders of Color program. Then we'll hear from the leaders, and we'll follow up with some time for questions. So we'll have a few minutes now to hear from the movement makers themselves, John Neptune, Claudette Indenaze, and Joseph Jackson. Claudette, you want to get us started?
Thank you, Gloria, and thank you everybody for joining our session. And as Gloria said, I think this is really the most important session maybe for her, but also for us. So, as you know, my name is Claudette Indenaze, and I'm the Executive Director of In Her Presence. In Her Presence was born back in 2015. And now we have almost 200 women coming from 16 countries. We have more than 47 children who work together. We have more than 46 volunteers, including teachers, who work together. And we have more than 30 partners who work together and collaborate. And our mission here is really to work to further a thriving immigrant community here in Maine by, of course, lifting the language, the contextual English conversation. This is really the focus. Supporting the career trajectory and the financial stability for our immigrant women and families. And we are kind of restructuring our program by really cultivating emerging leaders, as you can see even the topic for today, but also shifting the culture in Maine here by attracting more businesses, more organizations, and implementing our cultural policies into the dialogue and the conversations.
Thanks, Claudette. How about Joseph Jackson?
Thank you, Gloria and Claudette. I agree. This is one of the most important programs. And thank you all for attending. My name is Joseph Jackson. I'm the Executive Director with Maine Prisoner Advocacy Coalition. We are an organization that is dedicated to the ethical and humane treatment of incarcerated folks and their families in Maine. We use direct dialogue as a primary source of advocacy with the department on issues we see that we deem are against rehabilitation, and we really are supportive of reentry and reentry navigation. I'm also the Director of Leadership Development with Maine Inside Out. I want to name that. Maine Inside Out is an organization working with formerly incarcerated young people, and we use art for social change and advocacy and peer support, and transformative justice. And I'm a campaign advisor with Maine Youth Justice, with a campaign to end incarcerated for youth in Maine. For me, this program has been really great, and yeah, I'm just glad you all are here.
Thank you, Joseph. And John, Neptune.
Thank you. And Louisiana, Nahamo Gudum, Nujia, Banawapskewi, Willie One. It's important to introduce myself in my language. My name is John Neptune. I'm from the Eel clan. I am from the place where the rocks widen in the river. That's Penobscot. That's what that means. Willie One means thank you. I can't thank you all enough for what you do. The impact that you make is undescribable. And I want to thank Gloria. I'm really looking forward to learning and listening to Claudette and Joseph as well. It's an honor to be here with all of you, and I just can't thank you enough. So again, my name is John Neptune. I work for the Penobscot Nation Youth Program. I've been working here since January of '95. So and we have about 100. We had 150 youth that we serve here from ages 6 to 18. We do a number of activities. We do culture. We do athletics, we do art, we're always trying to dive into more stuff and do more. So I could go on forever talking about that, but I won't. I'm very passionate on what I do, and I love my work. Again, I think it's 26, 27 years or whatever it's been. It's been a long time. And we're more of a prevention program, so we do a lot of prevention work, and I'm always advocating for that. I think the prevention piece is important to kind of get our youth early, to get them off the opioids and drugs, and kind of get them in a right direction and give them different opportunities. So that's what I'm always trying to do. That's why we got such a wide variety of activities, is to give them different opportunities to explore what they want to do and kind of transform that into what they might want to do for the rest of their life, for healthy lifestyles and anything like that can make them happy and put them on the right path. And I'm just honored to be doing this work. And thank you all again very much. I look forward to this.
Excellent. Thank you all. This is going to be fun. So I'm going to start with a little background on what this program is. It's called Investing in Leaders of Color. And it's a competitive grant program within the Maine Community Foundation. We have something like 28 competitive grant programs that go all year round. This one is the due date is September 15th. If there are any leaders of color out there, please apply. All the details are on the website, and you can always reach out to me if you have more questions. So a little bit of background. In 2016, Maine CF started developing a strategic plan, which included racial equity as one of our goal areas. And as part of that, we also began internal racial equity work, because we see how race has worked in the foundation and philanthropy field. So we're examining our own relationship to racial equity, our history, our giving, our processes in all of our work, which I think is really important piece of this, because we want to be an anti-racist organization, and that work is ongoing. So this program is part of our racial equity work. And to develop our strategies, we interviewed over 80 leaders around the state about racial equity, and they developed recommendations that came out of those discussions. And of those discussions, the programs kind of came to be. And one of those programs is the Investing in Leaders of Color program. So we heard a lot of things, and one of them was that nonprofit leaders of color are core drivers of racial equity work in Maine. We need them. And we also heard that nonprofits that serve communities of color often struggle to survive because of these systemic racial inequities, which have been built into all our systems. And at the same time, I know that these leaders are incredibly effective in meeting the needs of their communities. We focused on funding organizations led by people of color since 2007 with a dedicated grant program called the Black and Indigenous People of Color Grant Program. So we have relationships, and we've seen that they deliver on the projects that they propose, and they're incredibly devoted and mission-driven. So we asked ourselves, how can we best support these leaders to even be more impactful? And we thought capacity building. But most workshops or tools that are available are designed for more resource white-led nonprofits. They don't really work so well often. So we thought something else might be needed. We wanted to design something that really valued the leaders' strengths, because they have many, many, many strengths, and that we weren't building on the white standard. So let me tell you a little bit more about the nitty-gritty of the program. As I mentioned, it's a competitive process, and with all our competitive grant programs here at Maine CF, there are advisors for the program, and they provide the recommendations. It was really important to me that the application be simple. The application has 2 questions. So what kind of help do you want, and how will this support you and help your organization? So those 2 questions. So they aren't spending a lot of time, and we're not asking unnecessary information. Another thing I've heard from a lot of organizations is that the budget part of applications takes up often more time than the narrative part. So I got permission to only ask for the organization's operating budget on the application. I also heard that reporting can take a lot of time. So again, try to simplify that. And at the end of the year, the leaders fill out a very simple, half-page grant report that asks what actions and outcomes took place with their goals. That's it. So some of the things I think that make this program really effective are one-on-one coaching. So at the core of this program is the one-on-one coaching. We offer 23 hours of paid coaching, as well as $3,500 in direct and flexible funding to support that leader's capacity building. And the leaders choose how to use that coaching and the professional development funds for what they see fit. It was also really important for us to pay the leaders and coaches at the same rate, so $150 an hour, because all their time is valuable and needs to be compensated. Too often, and I'm sure these 3 leaders on the call have been asked to do all sorts of things without being paid. So definitely wanted to pay them for their time, and please pay all your leaders if you ask them to do something. We sent the payment to the leaders upon acceptance into the program, and they didn't have to do anything else. And then the coaches send their bill to Maine CF, and our finance staff handles paying the coaches. So a lot of choice here, and I think that's a key point of the program. The leaders choose their topic for coaching. We've heard that the issues that the leaders want to work on sometimes are very nuanced. And so these stock approaches in workshops often didn't fit. So the leader chooses the topic, which in turn helps them choose their coach. And we have experts in the program that are coaches that know a lot about budgets, finance, program development, strategic planning, youth engagement, evaluation, fundraising, nonviolent communication, racial equity and justice, just to name a few. So the leaders choose their coach, And in the process of doing that, I felt that it was very important to have a good fit, that the leader feel really comfortable with that coach. And so the leaders get to interview up to 3 coaches to find the best fit, because I knew that trust and relationship would be really important for that relationship to be as effective as possible. In the program, I have about 23 coaches with a variety of experience. And I've spoken with each of those coaches to really make sure that they're using a racial equity lens in their work. So these coaches have been chosen not only because they're really good at what they're experts at, but because they're kind and grounded people. So they pay attention to the leader's inner well-being and not just the organization's well-being. Then an idea that came from actually one of the coaches that I talked to when I was designing the program. She suggested having something called what we call a leader and coach agreement. So that's a 1-page form in which the leader and coach together fill it out, where it lists the goals of the coaching, when they'll start and end, and with what frequency they'll meet. Because all those are up to the leader, and we just want to make sure that the leader and coach are on the same page with that. And the leaders choose when the coaching will happen. Again, this is key. These leaders' schedules are incredibly full, and they're reacting often to last-minute requests or a lot of unforeseen issues. These leaders were working, at 150% capacity before the pandemic, and then when the pandemic hit, it went up to inhumane levels. These guys are superheroes. I don't know how they do all that they do. So, being able to choose when to get the coaching, engage with the coach is really important. In addition, this year, we bought the leaders a membership to the Maine Philanthropy Center. And we arranged for a Maine Philanthropy Center overview just for the Investing in Leaders of Color leaders, because that's something that most of them hadn't thought of. That it's an organization that can provide a lot of valuable resources, access to funders, information about fundraising, etc. So we're in the second year of the program. The first year was a pilot. We've had 10 leaders each year, and the program is funded by our donors, as well as Maine Health Access Foundation and Almena B School Foundation provided funding for additional hours. And so I'm so happy that we have funding to run this program for another 2 years, 2023, which I'm just thrilled about. And I can take a question if anybody has a question now. I don't see any. All right, so let's just go right into the bulk of our time, which is with Claudette, Joseph, and John. So I'll just read a question and just let me know, or just speak up and add your voice. So what are the biggest challenges you face in leading your organization?
Did I say I was going to jump in and do that one? Yeah. So the biggest challenge for me, and I think one of the things I forgot to name it, is I'm a returning citizen, having spent time with the Department of Corrections. So a lot of the passion I have for the work is about working with people and working with people that have been system impacted. And I'm the kind of person, the biggest challenge for me is I wanted to do everything. I wanted to be the grant writer, the public, the public speaker, the strategic partnerships, all of these different aspects, of the work, including engaging with the folks, and realized that I quickly ran out of capacity to do all the things that I needed to do, and really had to learn how to identify what my roles were, and then to understand that these were all separate roles, and to try to develop some leadership so I can delegate some of those roles that, help run the organization while I can, and focus on the things that I was passionate about within the work. And so, working with a coach to do that has been really, really helpful for me. And, now beginning to implement some of that, process of, delegating and stepping back from some things that are essential for the work to happen. So I think that's for me was one of the biggest challenges. That's that. And then I think the other thing is that being a black man in Maine or being a black leader in Maine, where there are very few black leaders, and because of the work that we do, there's a lot of cross section of it, and so there's a lot of demands and a lot of requests to do things that could in some ways are aligned with values, some ways may be outside the scope of the work, and but still just as important. And then just to recognize that I had to create some boundaries around some of the things I said yes to, and which is kind of hard, especially when you're out here in the work, building relationships, and all that, and that's a lot big part of the work. And so I think I'm getting better with that, but that's definitely has been one of the challenges because there's so few of us here. I mean that we get known for the kind of work that we do in our little our little circles, and everybody wants to come over here and talk about that, come over here. And so that was a huge challenge for me to begin to just create boundaries around what I could do, what I couldn't do, what was related, what wasn't.
Thank you, Joseph.
Go ahead, Joe.
Let me go. Okay.
Yeah.
Joseph, thank you. Those challenges you had is like almost identical with me as well. I think when you're passionate and you love your program, you want to dive into all aspects of your program. You want to write the grants. You want to be on the floor. Like for me, I want to be on the floor playing with the kids, running programs, trying to run your staff. So you're trying to do all these things, and we got other things we do. Like Joseph, I have other jobs that I do as well that have to do with youth. So I'm stretching out. So it's learning to say no is extremely challenging because you really want to try to get involved and kind of promote your program and just kind of let people know how passionate you are. And I think, like Joseph, I think that training helped kind of focus, kind of my elevator talk, I guess they call it in the grant writing world, is to be able to compact everything into small segments to funders. Because for here, I mean, I'm fighting for funding every single year, so it's a struggle even within my tribe. Like I always every single year, I'm always up trying to get money constantly, and then I'm always trying to get money and grants and trying to build those relationships with people to believe in what you believe in. And I think that can be extremely challenging. One of the biggest challenges too that has been over the years is, I know this might sound strange, but is protecting the children that I work with. Like Joseph, when you're a minority in Maine, you are really a minority. I mean, it's very small. So when I coach basketball teams and athletic teams, I get anxiety, I get a little nervous bringing them into some of these other towns, and I've seen racism as little as just 5 years ago. I took a basketball team in, and they were making racist remarks, and it's like, how do I protect my children, and how do I deal with that in a good way so it's a learning experience for them. And also how to educate the towns or the schools or whatever that's doing that as well. So that's a big challenge. I'm always coaching all native teams. They're all I've been doing that for 25 years. I've been doing that, and it's constant. I mean, just being able to do that education piece, and I think just trying to juggle all that, but to learn how to delegate is also the big thing. It's hard to do that, when you're passionate about your program because you want to be involved. So yeah, that's my biggest challenges, and having a one-on coach was amazing. Like really helped focus that, put things in perspective, and it was fantastic. So
Thank you, John. Thank you, Joseph. What I can add here, I think we are struggling because we come here and we have organization, but we don't know the system. First, what do we do to sustain the organization? And first, we are volunteers. Yes, many organizations they are requested to go and speak and be a speaker and really represent the face for the organization in the community. But there are not really resources, financial resources, really to support the organization on our organization. How do we really empower and raise first the confidence for our women so they can become really leaders, ambassadors in the community? That sustainability is not only the money, it's on the participant, it's on the women, it's on the family, how they become really advocate and ambassador. And I think the grant you have been providing, this is really where it goes. How can we create that path for our women and families so they can really become advocate in the community? So increasing the visibility in the community. We are missing that. We need really to be the face, but without the resources, it's so hard really even to get a coaching and be a public speaker. I got that last time, and I saw how it's really helping the community and the organization. You need also, I think, a consistent and the programming. How do we prioritize our programs and not really embracing all the program and initiative? How do you focus and create that? You need a support. You need someone who is familiar with the system, who can be your coach, who can be your consultant, and also someone knowing the need for our community. You need to develop more fundraising so you can sustain. But we don't have the tools to do that. We need support. We need to attract more businesses, to attract more donors so we can sustain. And in terms of the equity, I think, as I said before, from the beginning, working with business employer and organization, how can we be the bridge between the community and the organization and business employer so they can raise that understanding and awareness of our need, and then they can support people they are hiring on the site.
Excellent, thank you. And what are some of the barriers that you've found when you've looked for professional development or, a consultant in the past?
Frankly, there's a say at time, right? Professional development and especially, takes time. And so to be able to, carve the time out, to find out, okay, yeah, how do I learn, the new ways of the language to write a grant, I'm saying too much, right? And so, all of these things takes time. And so the flexibility that, and ILOC program, really, I couldn't do it if it didn't have that flexibility. So I think time is the biggest thing. And then lastly, I just wanted to comment on something Claudette was saying. It's like, and John, part of what I want to do is also leadership development, not just for myself, but also, the folks that I'm working with, my constituents, and that I'm working with. And a lot of that is also, it's not about like telling somebody what to do, but a lot of it is modeling what to do, pointing, them to the right resources. And so all of these things are time consuming, particularly when you're developing relationships with these folks. Relationships take time. And so, this professional development, the flexibility that it has allowed me to develop many different skills, not only to partition out what roles that I have, but to also just start thinking about how self-care and that, because I think self-care was one of the things I took for granted, and that, so for me, those are the challenges I think I faced. Yeah. I could talk a lot. Sorry.
One thing I can say here, one thing I can add to what you are saying, Joseph, I have seen earlier the consultant, the type of the consultant we have. My experience working with consultants, I think you get to know them, but sometimes they come and you are doing all the work, and then you meet, but you are the one working and providing all the input to the consultant. And at the end, you ask yourself, so what did I get from that? So you need to go beyond that. And this is really the flexibility you made. If I know a consultant and I know the skills they have, then we can work together, because I think someone really knowing the need for our community is better than someone who doesn't know the need of our community. And this is really a huge difference I have seen, how you benefit from someone knowing the need in the community.
Yeah, and Claudette and Joseph, it's tough going after both of you because you kind of nailed everything right there. But I have a lot of the similar barriers too as well. I think Claudette said it nicely. I think it's being able to find, and like Joseph said, like the time, trying to find the time, but also to get somebody kind of more specific. I mean, it's minorities are very unique and it's very specialized. So the barriers in professional development that I tried to look online was just very general and vague. It wasn't as specific to our community and our families and what we do. As a Native American, that's also that we hold close as family. Our women are very strong and powerful in our community. So, and we protect and take care of our children at all costs. So, we are very unique. The culture in our community is very unique, and being able to have somebody you can develop a relationship where they can understand kind of your needs more specifically, and kind of help you, guide you, and give you the tools that you can kind of transform into your specific culture was great. But prior to this, I didn't really have anything that I could dive into to develop. So this has been absolutely fantastic. I mean, it's been great, and I look forward to the talks all the time. I wish I could have it all the time. So it was great. So yeah.
One thing I can add on that question, I think it's relationship and connection. Sometimes it's so hard for us coming here as new to build those relationship and connection with even funders, but also with the consultant who are working together. Because as soon as you build relationship and trust, then you move forward so fast. And there are also other ramification and connection and relationship you get from that. I remember when I met Gloria, it was really, she opened all the doors to different connection and relationship. And now that we are sustaining because of those relationships. I think knowing how to build relationship, and we don't know it. We don't know, and accepting that you don't even know it. This is so hard because you don't see it.
Yeah, I think that's the value of working with someone from the outside, is like a consultant, is that they can see things that you don't when you're living it every day. And it's funny that you talked about, not funny, but that you talked about making dedicated time, because, you know, we had heard from all of you wonderful leaders, I know I should do this, you know, like I really want to do this, but you all wonderful leaders put others first, ahead of yourselves. So that's part of why we wanted to make this program and pay you for it. So it was like, okay, I am going to make the time because now I have it carved out. So I'm glad to hear that that was important. And again, the consultants that we chose, the coaches, have that mindset of working together, like you all said, right? I think a lot of people who are experts in their field don't really work together. You know, they want to give you their expertise and expect that you do it. But the mindset of these coaches has really that lifting everybody up and working together on it. Yeah, so that was nice to hear back from you all.
Can I also name there was one other aspect that was really important for me is that my coach happened to be a person of color, you know what I mean? And so it was really important for me to be able to have somebody with my shared identity that I could, you know, talk to and unload on a little bit about things, nuances that were related to my identity. And you know, for me, that has been tremendous to be able to talk with another person. You know, because I don't know very many other leaders, and especially one that can coach. You know, to be able to talk about some of the challenges I face, just as my identity, and not particularly just as a leader. And so, that to me also has been extremely a positive part of this. You know, for me.
Yeah, I sought out as many coaches I could who were BIPOC people. And so we've had to go out of the state a bit for some. But we have a bunch of Black, Indigenous, and people of color who are coaches. And I love that too. So what is the biggest value you saw from being part of the program?
I'm ahead on my answer. John, do you want to go first? Philip first?
Joseph, you've been doing great. Why don't you just?
Well, you know, the biggest part of the value that I've had, not only the developing skills, beginning to identify some of the role stuff that I named, but taking care of myself. I mean, actually being able to recognize that I'm burned out a little bit and I need to take some self-care time. And you know, I'm a man, so I can't help it. Sometimes I got that patriarchal thing. I try to power through, and I'm used to powering through. And to have somebody say to me that it's okay to take some, time, to rejuvenate and do some self-care. That was a real hard one for me. It wasn't something that was really, and it's still not easy, but I really appreciate the value because that has been extremely valuable to me because I take the work so personally that I wouldn't do that. And so, yeah, I think that's huge because that's a culture change for myself. So I would just name that.
Sure. Do you want to go? I can go.
Go ahead.
I can. Thank you. So I think the value for that, Gloria, is it opens a new reflection on what you need to improve, because we were not even thinking about that. But as soon as you got the funding and you have the consultant, the coach, so you start digging and thinking about what can we improve and what can we do. On our side, for example, now we are restructuring all the programming coming from 5 programs, and now we kind of structure to focus on 2 main programs, which is amazing because sometimes organizations tend to increase programs than reducing programs. And the other value I have seen from that is when you build those relationships, I was able, for example, to extend the same consultants and get another technical support from Miha so she can continue the work she starts because it was not over. So kind of continuation on that work. I think it opens really the reflection and the space for questioning and challenging yourself, the people you are working together, and also the organization culture.
Yeah, and for me, the value was, I think, one of the most impactful things with the consultant I had. One of the things that she asked me was, I walk into your youth program, how you really want to see it. What do I see? So we actually walked literally like step by step in the building, like basically created a vision of what that program would look like, which I've never really done that because, like I think Joseph said, you get so busy doing everything, you kind of forget to look at that, focus on that vision of what you really want to see. So that was amazing. It kind of like lifted me up a little bit to kind of envision that, to go in and see what you'd want to see. And then the next steps were like, okay, well, how are we going to attain that? What action steps are we going to do? What goals are we going to do to reach that point? Was absolutely amazing to me. It's still with me now. Like it's driving me now even more so than I think before. So like now I'm going full blast to do everything I can do to kind of make that vision more of a reality of when you walk in there. Um, and I think also sitting down and going over, I had my little homework assignments I had to do, and that. So that was challenging too. And also just to bounce things off them, like some of my writing, like, well, what do you think? I got like this grant I'm writing or whatever, and being able to bounce that off them to kind of get their ideas. Again, I think Gloria touched on it, is that outside perspective. Like, I know what I'm writing, so when I put it on paper, it's like, okay, this is outstanding. I'm going to get it. So which is not always the case for people on the outside. So again, the value is culturally, how can I write that down so it's impactful to somebody that's reading it? Because to me, it's just automatic. But to have that perspective from them, saying, well, maybe you might want to do this and do that. This looks good. So the value was absolutely outstanding to kind of have that, and bounced off some grants, and actually received some grants, received some funding because of this training. So it has brought the program up quite a bit. So I am like so grateful for that, and it's been fantastic. So
Excellent. Yeah, that was one of the wishes we had, was that it would spark more funding for sure. Not only within Maine CF, but outside. And, we fund capacity building with most of our grant programs, as this could be like a seed. But as I said, this will be going on for a few more years, so leaders can reapply. And, you mentioned something that I've heard from a lot of leaders, and that is how supportive the consultant was, the coach was. You all are leaders, at the top, and in some of your organizations, you're the only staff. So, like, to have that other person that cares about your organization, be able to review things, bounce ideas off of, like, that wasn't something that a lot of the leaders had access to. They just couldn't go down the hall and talk to their coworker about something. So that was sort of a key aspect that the coaches were used for. Yeah, so I heard that a bunch too. So what are some of the changes you've instituted at your organization or within your life?
I can go. So I think within my life first, personally, really, I grew up so huge in terms of the language. As our basic, really our focus is the contextual English conversation. I have seen you learn by practicing, by having all those coaching meetings, and also working on the public speaking. Now I can run a session on my own, which is really unbelievable. And sometimes you don't have that confidence really to speak because you are afraid, you have that fear. But it opens really that space for me. And more than that, the consultant we have been working together, she kind of initiate even myself in terms of working together on the consultancy again, on the cross-cultural dialogue. And now I'm able really to go outside. Organizations are seeking the training from me. And now I can do, we used to do it together. And now I am able to do it on my own. And I think this is really a great accomplishment. On the side of the organization, we succeeded really. The board sometimes, it's so hard to convince the board and really follow what your path. But we succeeded really to convince the board and implement the training on role and responsibilities. And now we are working together, adapting the mission and vision, and have all the strategic planning combined together with programming restructure. And I think this is really the vision, and it's clear, and everybody now is.
Yeah, I can go. I think some of the changes that we've made, I think kind of that vision has helped kind of focus on what we're doing. So the changes that we have made is like with a lack of resources, we learn to be resourceful. So I think that's kind of what we're doing. And being resourceful is through knowledge. And I think me getting funding and kind of getting those kind of resources is more of a help educate our people and more of the culture than training our people on some of the cultural practices that are being lost or not we're not doing as much, and that way I don't have to depend on other people. We can be more self-sustaining. So so I think that's the biggest thing, is being able to sustain kind of what I received from this program, and being able to pass that on to other people in the community and the workers. And I think for myself personally, it was a reflection on self-care and also what I need to do to improve. So, I've been doing this for so long, everything's always changing. So it's always trying to be on top of all that. And for myself, now this program has helped me now to enroll in college. So I never thought I'd be going into college at almost age 50, but I'm going back into college to kind of still, and I'm going in to kind of more concentrate on leadership and management. And I think that wouldn't have been possible if I didn't have this resource to kind of bounce things off of and say, look, you can do this. This is possible. So it's made a huge impact both professionally and personally. And I'm just going to keep going ahead with it. And it's just been a fantastic experience. So.
Yeah. I mean, we've made a tremendous amount of changes. I mean, for the first time ever, we have created a budget looking forward. So 2021 has already been looked at, and so we're first time we've ever done that. We've been working by the seat of our pants for a long time. Second thing we've done is identified what is ongoing work and what is a project, and then those things that are ongoing, putting people in roles that not necessarily that are made, but that help assist me in those roles. And so now, having identified what that ongoing work looks like and having people in those roles really reduced, some of the work that I had to do, in those particular roles, because sometimes in different parts of the year those things increase, depending on the role. And then lastly, to keep taking notes. So I didn't take notes at every meeting that I went to. That was something I had to learn that. And so now, even when I'm not in a meeting, that, the fact that folks are taking notes, of what's going on in the meeting that they're in helps me. Even if I'm not there, and contributes to the way that I write reports, contribute to, whether it's to the board or to funders, that just that ability to be able to articulate what's going on in the work was all in my head before, and now we've taken it out of my head and kind of like compartmentalized it and structured it in a way, and just that whole structure has been just a huge change for the way that we do the work here at probably throughout every organization I'm affiliated with now, but it wasn't always that way. So yeah, I think that's what I want to say. And I guess lastly, I got an Apple laptop, so I was working outmoded technology. So what I mean, I'm going in. I don't know what I wasn't even too ashamed to say what I was going in with and seeing everybody with the Apple. You know what I mean? And so to be able to have an Apple laptop now, I feel like I belong. So I think that would be one.
Excellent use of the professional development funds, Joseph. Yeah, I heard from some leaders, that went home at the pandemic that, didn't have a laptop. There was having to work on their phone. And they're like, can we buy a laptop? I'm like, yes, absolutely. Yeah, so that's nice to be able to provide that support. And so interesting to hear the different things that you brought up, so I think that also speaks to the individual nature of the support, and where the organizations are at, are also so unique. So that's kind of cool to hear. So what message do you have for funders or other nonprofit leaders about providing capacity building type things?
So do you want to go? I can go. So I think it's time for funders to think about how you can go beyond providing tools to the organization. But how do you empower leaders really to become ambassadors and really provide sustainability mindsets? And here I think what I mean is how beyond the coaching you provide, how do you train that person to make the practice and really become the ambassador? How can I create the mini Claudette under my umbrella? So when I will be not there, they will take the leadership. So they are coming behind me. They are supporting me. How can I implement that? And I think this is really maybe the level we need to go to move forward. So there is the coaching, the tools for coaching, but how do I make that practice and implementation? And then I can be able really now to come back and train others to work with me.
Go next. I think that for me, this program has proven that Black leaders can do the work. Leaders of color cannot do this work and make a difference out here in these communities. I think one of my purposes is to build a world where everyone matters and belongs. So if we're in this to build this world, that we really need to start looking at the structure of who is getting funding, and then begin to resource people of color and leaders of color, to do the work that should be done in communities, so that to contact with the criminal justice system or any other system that is oppressive to people, people can help advocate and support folks to navigate those things, but avoid them. Because I think that at the end of the day, what we're hoping to do is support folks to bring about a social change in a world where everybody in it can live self-sustaining and fulfilling lives. And I think my work and Claudette's work and John's work is indicative of folks that are talking about giving back. And if funders want to give back, the way you do it is through those communities that have been least represented, especially when it talks about, where the money goes. So.
Yeah, and I think the message, it's always tough to deliver a message. I feel that words are never enough to say how impactful that is, especially in the community that I'm in. Um, it's almost something that you'd really have to see. If my message was just to continue giving, like what you're doing is fantastic. I mean, it's something that I think people of color, especially in Maine too, really need that, and I think a lot of times it's an overlooked population. Um, and I think investing into that. I mean, you got Claudette and you got Joseph. You invest in great leaders like that. That has that ripple effect where the impact, they impact people that are around them as well. I mean, just hearing them talk today, they're both amazing, and I think having leaders like that and being part of this, funding this, it goes beyond just us. So I mean, it goes beyond the people we work with, the relationships that we build, um, all that, personal life. I mean, it's just tremendous. And again, I probably say this after everyone, but I'm just so grateful and I'm so thankful to have this opportunity. And Gloria's been amazing. Maine Community Foundation is just a fantastic organization. I can't say enough good things about them, and it's truly an honor. And I just really want to be able to pass on that knowledge that I had from the consultants to the people that work with me and the relationships that I have, both professionally and personally. So again, it's huge what you all do, and I can't thank you enough. So
And I think one more thing is how can we create a coalition as funder being together, because now they are kind of isolated, working, not working really, collaborating together. But then engaging the group of leaders, you are providing the tools so they can go beyond the grassroots organization in the community and be at the state level for advocacy, because we need that. We need really lived experience, people with expertise and working with the mainstream community, and then advocating at the state level, because at the state level, they do have really a lack of understanding and awareness of the need for the community. This is where I see funders can really play a huge role.
Yeah, I agree with all of you. And, all of these leaders, you are the best positioned to make this social change, which we so, so need. And we will advance racial equity if we invest in you all, because it's critical, and you are the best position to do this work. And we'll all benefit. All Mainers, all of us will benefit so much by all of your work. Thank you. All right, well, we have a few minutes for questions. If anybody has questions, if not, we can go to some lessons learned. Caitlin, do people just type them in?
Yep, people can go ahead and type those in the Q&A or the chat, either way.
Okay.
I would love to know, since I'm here anyway, from all of you, what surprised you the most from the process of working with a coach, especially when an organization is so much about you and your passion and your heart, and it's been this effort of one. What surprised you about the process of working with a coach from the outside? Were there any? Anything you took away from that?
So, Kaden, I think one thing I have seen, they don't understand the need for our community. And then we are the one really delivering everything, but we are not at the table to make those decisions together. So they are using us to provide everything they need, and they own, at the end, they own really the work, the outcomes, but we are not there. How can we work together to design all that consultancy together from the beginning until the end, not really taking a half of the work?
For me, the biggest surprise is that it didn't add up to more work. For me, every time somebody says, can you do this thing? I get, trepidations and anxious, like, this is going to turn into more work. And in fact, it's quite the opposite. Yes, I'm learning. Yes, I have learned some things, but my learning has actually allowed me to reduce that. And now my anxiety around doing something and saying yes to something is not as high. And so I think that's one of the biggest parts of it, is that I was surprised it wasn't more work, and it doesn't feel like work at all. So
yeah. And I think another thing, Katie, on our side as really grassroots community, we need also to reflect on our weaknesses, because sometimes we don't see it. We need education too. We need that leadership, but we are not seeing it. How can we really work and motivate organizations to look and reflect on our blind spot, what we are missing, and challenge ourselves, and then say, I need that, then look for support. We don't have that. And we miss also the connection in relationship. We are not there. We have a lack of knowledge of the system. And we need first to acknowledge.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and I think one of the surprises too was that it was it was a lot more fluid than I envisioned it to be, and it was it was just really kind of opened some doors that I didn't think would be possible, and it was really unique, and it was and it was great. I mean, it was really good.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I also got a lot out of the program too, in getting to work a little closer with these pretty instrumental leaders in their community. That was a lot of fun for me. And also meeting all these great coaches was really interesting. And some of them are really just amazing people. So that was a lot of fun, is talking to those coaches and hearing their racial equity work, especially, the coaches that that I brought in from out of state that are BIPOC people, and what they can offer to our leaders in Maine is really amazing.
Yeah, thank you, Gloria. And the relationship is long term. It's not really short term. It's long term. I have seen the way we work together. I kept sending you emails, and you keep sending me emails. Have you seen that? Have you seen? And those really relationship doesn't really end. Okay.
Yeah, I'd echo all of that. And, Maine Community Foundation has been a tremendous partner. Gloria, you have been a ray of light and sunshine. And
Thanks, you guys.
for my leadership development. So that was a huge surprise for me, and continues. I don't know. I just feel blessed, to know about, such generous and kind folks. And yeah, the relationship is not something that superficial and has depth.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm very grateful too. I've been, like I said, it's been a lot, 26, 27 years. I've worked with a lot of funders in different agencies, and this one is very unique, just because of more of the personal relationships that you have, and also they just being able to be there for you and outreaching and all that. It's been outstanding. I think Maine Community Foundation, Gloria, I think you are all like the example of what these other organizations should be. And it would be much easier and much more pleasant to do that if they were like you also.
Oh, geez. Well, you guys are the ones doing the hard work. So I have the easy job of just sending you guys checks. So thank you to you guys for doing the hard work in your communities. So appreciative. So I don't see any other questions. So I think we'll go ahead and wrap up. So I just wanted to, summarize some of the lessons learned of this program, Investing in Leaders of Color. And something I've heard from a lot of leaders was, that they wanted to learn to work smarter and not just harder. And I've heard from a lot of leaders that the coaching really helped them do that. You've heard from these leaders about being able to focus their time and really see what's most critical for the health and stability of their organizations. So that has happened. Choice for these very impactful leaders, choice of who they work with, choice of when they work, choice of how they work, all of that is really important. Scheduling at the leader's pace and timing is key. And the type of coaches that were curated to be part of this program, I think was really important too. I asked people, if you cause harm unintentionally, what will you do? And I only chose the ones that, said that they would apologize, and that they would learn from that and that they would grow from that, and those coaches that wanted to work collaboratively, in a sharing sort of relationship. So I think the type of coach is pretty critical as well. Well, thank you all for your time. I'm so grateful that the three of you took time out of your busy schedules to share about the Investing in Leaders of Color program. And I encourage you guys to tell your other leader friends about the program, and anyone that's listening. The due date is September 15th and everything's online. I put a document in the document tab that lists the website and a little bit of the information. So I look forward to lots more applications from wonderful leaders in Maine.
Thank you for this. Thank you for this. Take care, everybody. And I seen one of my people in the attendees. So, I'm glad to see y'all. Thank you for the support.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.